You were chosen for a higher purpose, but there's a hidden truth you need to face. Your own family might be your greatest obstacle. You've felt it, haven't you? The subtle judgments, the undermining comments, the cold distance. And no, it's not in your head. God has already warned you about the deception lurking within the ones who should love you most. But why? Why do the ones closest to you, those who should support you, often seem to pull you back into the darkness? The truth is, the journey of the chosen one is never easy, and the path is often paved with betrayal, even from those who claim to care the most. In this segment, we're diving deep into the divine warning that God has given to his chosen ones. We'll uncover the biblical and spiritual reasons why family betrayal is almost a rite of passage for those destined for greatness. You're not alone in this struggle. This is part of your spiritual awakening. Are you ready? Drop 999 in the comments. It's a divine number of completion and alignment. But before we dive in, I need your support. Since this is a new channel, my videos have faced challenges in reaching those who truly need this wisdom. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Let's break it down. Why your family doesn't recognize your calling. Not everyone is meant to see what God has placed within you. You carry a light, but to those who live in spiritual darkness, that light can be unsettling. Your family, the ones who have known you since birth, often struggle the most to recognize your divine calling. They see you as the person you used to be, not the person you are becoming. They remember your mistakes, your weaknesses, and your struggles. To them, you are still the child they once scolded, the sibling they argued with, or the relative they thought they understood. They cannot comprehend that God has set you apart for something greater. Spiritual blindness is not just a lack of faith. It is an inability to perceive beyond the physical. Many of your family members may be deeply rooted in worldly thinking, measuring success by material gain, social status, or tradition. They cannot fathom that God has chosen you for a purpose beyond what their eyes can see. It is like trying to explain the vastness of the ocean to someone who has only ever seen a small pond. Their vision is limited, and because they cannot grasp your path, they dismiss it. They may belittle your spiritual growth, mock your beliefs, or try to persuade you that you are chasing illusions. This pattern is not new. Scripture is filled with examples of chosen ones being rejected by their own. When Jesus began his ministry, the very people in his hometown refused to believe in him. They said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary?" Matthew 13:55. They could not accept that someone they had known since childhood could carry such divine power. Because they had watched him grow up, they assumed they knew everything about him. Their familiarity blinded them, and as a result, they rejected the very Messiah they had been waiting for. Joseph, too, faced rejection from his own brothers. When he shared the dreams God had given him, instead of rejoicing, they were filled with jealousy and hatred. They could not understand why he, the younger brother, was chosen for something greater. Instead of supporting him, they conspired to throw him into a pit and sell him into slavery. To them, his calling was nothing more than arrogance. They could not see what God had placed inside him because they were too consumed by their own limitations. This same blindness affects families today. When you begin to walk in your calling, some relatives will feel threatened. They may not say it outright, but deep inside, they struggle with the idea that someone they have always known could rise above the ordinary. Your growth challenges their comfort. It forces them to reflect on their own lives, and for many, That is an uncomfortable process. Instead of embracing your transformation, they resist it, sometimes with criticism, sometimes with silence, and sometimes with outright opposition. Familiarity breeds disbelief. When people have seen you at your lowest, it becomes difficult for them to accept that you are now being elevated. If they remember the times you failed, how can they believe you are destined for greatness? If they have witnessed your past struggles, how can they accept that you are now walking in divine wisdom? It is like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The ones who knew it as a slow, crawling creature struggle to believe that it can now fly. They do not reject your calling because it isn't real. They reject it because it challenges everything they thought they knew about you. Some family members may even believe they are acting in your best interest. They may see your spiritual journey as unrealistic or misguided. They might try to bring you back to reality, urging you to focus on things they believe are more practical. But their reality is not your reality. God has placed something within you that they cannot understand, and their inability to see it does not make it any less real. It is like trying to explain color to someone who has only ever seen in black and white. No matter how much you describe it, they will not fully grasp it until they experience it themselves. There are also those who recognize your calling but refuse to acknowledge it. Some family members are not spiritually blind. They see your growth, they recognize your wisdom, but they do not want to admit it. Accepting your calling would require them to confront their own stagnation. It would mean acknowledging that God is doing something powerful through you while they remain in the same place. Jealousy, pride, and fear can prevent them from celebrating you. Instead of supporting your journey, they may downplay your progress, dismiss your experiences, or even sabotage your path. Their rejection is painful, but it is not a reflection of your worth or your purpose. Even the greatest figures in history face disbelief from those closest to them. The people who should have supported them were often the first to doubt them. It is a painful reality, but one that comes with being chosen. When God sets someone apart, not everyone will recognize it, and the first to resist are often the ones who think they know you best. The signs of deception within your own household. Deception from outsiders is expected, but when it comes from within your own household, it is far more damaging. The people who claim to love and support you can sometimes be the very ones who plant seeds of doubt, confusion, and self-sabotage. Their actions are not always obvious. Some forms of deception are subtle, creeping in like shadows at dusk, making you question yourself without realizing it. Others are blatant, designed to keep you in a place of weakness so that you never rise to your full potential. One of the most common tactics used by deceptive family members is manipulation. This can take many forms, from guilt-tripping to emotional blackmail. They may remind you of past mistakes, not to help you grow, but to keep you feeling small. If you try to set boundaries, they may accuse you of being selfish or ungrateful. If you start making changes in your life, they may suddenly act as though you are abandoning them. This is not love. It is control, disguised as concern. Like a spider spinning an invisible web, they weave words and actions together in a way that traps you, making it difficult to break free without feeling guilt or shame. Gaslighting is another powerful weapon used to keep you doubting yourself. This is when someone deliberately distorts reality to make you question your own perception, memory, or feelings. A family member may tell you that you are imagining things when you call out their toxic behavior. They may dismiss your experiences, claiming you are overreacting or being too sensitive. Over time, this constant invalidation erodes your confidence, making you second-guess your intuition. It is like standing in front of a mirror and being told that your reflection is wrong. Eventually, you start believing it. Undermining is another tactic often used to keep you in a place of uncertainty. When you share your dreams, ideas, or spiritual insights, they may respond with sarcasm or indifference. They may downplay your accomplishments, comparing them to others, or acting as if they are insignificant, even when they pretend to support you. Their words carry a hidden message of doubt. That's nice, but don't get your hopes up too high. Are you sure this is what you're supposed to be doing? I just don't want you to be disappointed. These statements may seem harmless, but they plant doubt like weeds in a garden, slowly choking the life out of your confidence. Some family members resent your spiritual growth, not because they don't believe in it, but because it forces them to look at their own stagnation. When you start seeking truth, breaking free from old patterns, and elevating your mindset, it exposes the fact that they have remained in the same place. It is uncomfortable to see someone close to you evolve while you remain unchanged. Instead of celebrating your transformation, they may try to bring you back down to their level. It is like a crab in a bucket. When one tries to climb out, the others pull it back in. Fear plays a major role in their deception. People who are deeply rooted in their comfort zones often see change as a threat. Your transformation challenges the way they see the world. If they admit that you are growing, it forces them to question why they are not. If they accept that you have been called to a higher purpose, it makes them wonder what they have been doing with their own lives. Rather than face these uncomfortable truths, they try to convince you that you are the one who is lost. You've changed. You're acting different. This isn't the person I know. What they really mean is that they preferred you when you were easier to control. Another sign of deception is how they react to your moments of weakness. A supportive family member will uplift you when you struggle, offering guidance and encouragement. A deceptive one will use your struggles as proof that you should have never stepped into your calling. If you face a setback, they will say, "See, I told you this wouldn't work." If you express doubt, they will magnify it, making you feel as though you should give up. Instead of helping you through difficulties, they use them as evidence to justify their skepticism. It is like tripping on a path and having someone say, "Maybe you should have never started walking." Silent sabotage is another tool they use. Sometimes it is not what they say, but what they don't say that reveals their true intentions. When you achieve something meaningful, they may refuse to acknowledge it. When you share something important to you, they may change the subject or respond with disinterest. Their lack of encouragement is intentional. It is designed to make you feel unsupported, as if your growth is not worth celebrating. This silent dismissal can be just as harmful as spoken words, creating an invisible barrier that makes you feel isolated even in your own home. There are also those who will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fail. They will smile in your face, but wait for an opportunity to say, "I knew this wouldn't last." They may act as if they are cheering you on, but their energy tells a different story. Pay attention to how they react when good things happen in your life. Do they seem genuinely happy for you, or do they find a way to redirect the attention back to themselves? Deception often hides in plain sight, masked by false smiles and polite words. The most dangerous form of deception comes from those who convince you that they are acting in your best interest. They will claim They only want what is best for you while steering you away from your true path. They will advise you based on their own fears, not on what is actually right for you. Their words may sound caring, but their intentions are rooted in keeping you from stepping into your full power. It is like a bird being told it is safer to stay in the nest rather than learn to fly. What appears to be protection is really restriction. Recognizing these signs is not always easy, especially when they come from the people you love. Deception in the household is powerful because it operates under the disguise of family ties and tradition. But when you begin to see it for what it is, you take the first step in breaking free from its grip. How they try to keep you in a box. When you begin to step into your true calling, there are those who, whether intentionally or not, try to hold you back, to keep you within the boundaries they have set for you. It's as if they see you as a puzzle piece that no longer fits their picture, and rather than allow you to grow, they try to force you back into the shape they are comfortable with. They want to keep you in the box of who you were, not who you are becoming, because it is easier for them to control or understand you that way. One of the most common ways family members try to box you in is by pressuring you to conform to old patterns and expectations. They want you to remain the person they have always known, the person they feel safe with. When you start to shift, whether spiritually or emotionally, they might subtly push you back into your old habits or roles. It's like a river that has carved a path through the land for years. When the water begins to flow in a new direction, the earth resists, trying to keep it in the old channel. Your growth challenges their understanding of you, and that discomfort causes them to push you back toward what feels familiar. This pressure to conform often comes in the form of guilt. Family members may remind you of your past mistakes or the expectations they have of you based on who you were. You always used to be this way. Why change now? They might say, as though change is a betrayal. They try to convince you that the path you are on is a deviation, not an elevation. If you used to be the one who always stayed in the background, they may push you back into that role, dismissing your desire to be more. If you were the one who always took care of others, they may expect you to continue doing so, even if it stifles your growth. It's like a plant that has started reaching toward the sun, but someone is holding it back in the shade, trying to convince it that it's safer there. When you begin to share your spiritual insights, your newfound wisdom, or your desires for a higher purpose, family members who are still trapped in their own limited worldview may dismiss it as foolishness or even delusion. To them, your spiritual awakening doesn't fit into the box they've always kept you in. When you speak about things that are beyond their understanding, things like divine purpose, personal transformation, or the deeper meanings of life, they might react with disbelief or skepticism. They don't understand the language of your spirit, so they treat it as if it were a fantasy. To them, what you see as clarity might appear as confusion. It's like someone who has never experienced the color blue trying to explain what it looks like to someone who can only see in black and white. They just can't grasp it. They may try to convince you that what you are experiencing is a phase, something you will grow out of or get over once you realize it's not practical or realistic. They often see your insights as impractical because they don't align with their own worldview, which is more grounded in tangible, everyday concerns. They can't see the spiritual depth you have discovered because they are too busy focusing on the surface. It's like being surrounded by people who can only see the shadows while you are trying to show them the light. Their lack of vision becomes an obstacle in your path, making it harder for you to fully express who you are. The fear of your transformation also plays a role in this. As you change, it becomes harder for them to hold on to the version of you they are most comfortable with. They resist this change because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. They may fear that if you change too much, you will leave them behind. And so, they try to limit your growth, either by dismissing your spiritual insights or by pressuring you to conform. In doing so, they attempt to keep you in a box that feels safe to them, even though it no longer fits who you are becoming. God's test: why you must endure this trial. The challenges you face within your own household, the manipulation, the doubt, the attempts to hold you back, are not just random obstacles. They are a test of your faith and resilience. Just as gold is purified by fire, your spirit is refined through trials. God allows these difficult moments to test the depth of your trust in Him. This period of deception is not meant to break you. It is designed to strengthen you, to build the inner fortitude required for the journey ahead. Think of it as a weightlifting session for your soul. The resistance you face only makes you stronger, preparing you for the weightier responsibilities of your divine purpose. Enduring such trials can feel like walking through a dark tunnel with no clear end in sight. It can feel isolating, and at times it may seem like the very people who should be supporting you are the ones causing the most harm. But this is where faith comes into play. Trusting in God's plan, even when the path seems unclear or treacherous, is what sets the chosen ones apart. You are not alone, even if it feels like it. God's presence, though invisible to the eyes of others, is always with you, guiding you through every moment of difficulty. Your faith is the light that leads you through the darkness, and every step you take, no matter how uncertain, is part of the journey towards fulfilling your higher purpose. One reason why you must endure these trials is that the calling you have been given is not for everyone to understand. Chosen ones often have to walk a lonely path at first, not because they are abandoned, but because the journey requires a level of personal growth and spiritual maturity that cannot be shared with everyone. Not all of your family, friends, or even loved ones will be able to walk with you in this season. It is a path that requires solitude for reflection, strength, and deep communion with God. Like a seed that must grow in the quiet, unseen earth before it pushes through the soil, your transformation happens in the silence of solitude. This solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. There are lessons in isolation that cannot be learned when surrounded by the comfort and noise of others. During this time, you are being sharpened, molded, and strengthened in ways that you cannot yet understand. Just as a sword is tempered in the forge, your spirit is being made resilient. The friction and heat you face now will make you capable of enduring the greater challenges that lie ahead. You may feel the weight of walking alone, but in reality, you are never truly alone. God walks with you in the silence, and it is in that silence where you find your strength. Moreover, these trials also serve to test your character. Do you trust God enough to keep walking even when you don't see immediate results? Will you remain faithful when your own family, the very ones you love, try to convince you that you're on the wrong path? This is where the true test lies, not in the external circumstances, but in how deeply you trust in God's plan, even when it doesn't match the expectations of others. When everything seems uncertain and the voices around you become louder, it is your trust in God that becomes the foundation for your future. This process may feel daunting, and at times you may wonder if you can endure. But every step you take in this trial brings you closer to the person you are meant to become. The path is narrow, the journey long, but every obstacle is part of the divine orchestration that is leading you to your destiny. Breaking free, what God wants you to do. Breaking free from the control, manipulation, or misunderstanding of your family is not an easy task. It can feel like being caught in a web, where every movement you make seems to tighten the strands around you. But God's intention is not for you to remain trapped in this web. He wants you to rise above the limitations imposed by others, to step into the fullness of who He created you to be. While this process may involve emotional and spiritual detachment, it does not mean abandoning love or the relationships that matter. Instead, it is about finding a new way to relate to your family, one that honors both your growth and their place in your life without letting their energy drain you. The first step in breaking free is learning to emotionally detach. This does not mean that you stop caring for your family or that you turn your back on them. Emotional detachment is about gaining control over your feelings and not allowing others to manipulate or sway your emotions. Imagine a boat that is tethered to a dock by a rope. While the boat remains anchored in place, it has the freedom to move and float without being dragged back to the dock every time the wind blows. This is what emotional detachment looks like, maintaining your own sense of direction while still staying connected. It means not allowing their doubts, criticism, or negativity to control your inner peace. To emotionally detach, you must first recognize that you cannot change others. You cannot force your family to see things the way you do, to understand your calling, or to approve of the transformation you are undergoing. Accepting this truth can be liberating because it removes the burden of trying to seek their approval. You can love them without needing them to validate your path. This shift in mindset helps protect your emotional energy, as it allows you to create healthy boundaries that prevent their emotions from becoming yours. Just as a flower grows toward the sunlight without being held back by the shadows, you must continue growing and moving forward, even if those closest to you do not understand. Spiritual detachment is just as important as emotional detachment. In order to stay aligned with your higher calling, you must be able to separate yourself spiritually from the distractions and negative influences of others. This does not mean rejecting your family. It means protecting your spiritual energy so that you can continue to hear God's voice clearly. Spiritual detachment is like a tree with deep roots that remain steady even in strong winds. The winds of criticism, doubt, or misunderstanding may blow, but your roots remain grounded in God's truth. To achieve this, you must spend time in prayer, meditation, and reflection, allowing God to fortify your spirit and renew your strength. A practical way to protect your spiritual energy is by being mindful of the conversations you engage in and the environments you allow yourself to be in. If certain interactions with family members drain your energy or cause you to question your purpose, it may be time to set boundaries. Just as a gardener prunes dead branches to allow healthy growth, you must sometimes prune relationships or conversations that are hindering your spiritual progress. This doesn't mean cutting people off entirely, but it does mean setting clear limits on the energy you allow into your life. At the same time, staying aligned with your higher calling means choosing to focus on what brings you closer to God's plan for your life. This might mean immersing yourself in activities, communities, or practices that nurture your spiritual growth and keep you grounded in your purpose. Whether it's attending a church that uplifts you, reading scriptures, journaling your thoughts, or engaging in quiet reflection. These practices act as a shield that protects you from being swayed by the doubts or negativity that others may project onto you. Think of these practices as armor that strengthens you and keeps you in alignment with your true purpose. Another key aspect of breaking free is maintaining love without allowing others' behavior to dictate how you feel. It is possible to love people from a distance, especially when they are unable to respect your boundaries or understand your spiritual journey. You can choose to love your family without sacrificing your own well-being. This love is not based on their approval or understanding, but rather on your own compassion and understanding of their limitations. This love is unconditional, not contingent on their ability to walk the same path you are on. It's like planting seeds of kindness, even if you are unsure when or if they will bloom. One of the most powerful strategies to protect your energy is to be mindful of the company you keep. The people you spend the most time with will influence your mindset and energy. If certain family members consistently drain your energy or make you doubt yourself, it may be time to limit your exposure to them. Similarly, if your family members uplift and support your calling, continue to nurture those relationships. Surround yourself with individuals who understand the importance of your journey, people who can encourage you and hold space for your growth. The more you surround yourself with positive influences, the less power the negative voices will have over you. As you learn to detach emotionally and spiritually, you are also learning how to protect your inner peace. You are taking control of your own path, not allowing others to dictate the direction of your life. This process may be difficult, but it is necessary in order to step fully into the destiny God has planned for you. Just as a bird must spread its wings to soar into the sky, you must break free from the constraints of old patterns, expectations, and relationships that no longer serve you. This freedom allows you to fly higher, to fulfill your purpose, and to live in alignment with God's will for your life. The blessing that comes after betrayal. Betrayal is a bitter pill to swallow, especially when it comes from those you love and trust the most. It's like being struck by lightning from a clear sky, leaving you in a state of shock and confusion. When your family, the ones who should support and encourage you, turn their backs or undermine your purpose, it can feel like the earth beneath you is shaking. But this pain, as devastating as it is, often becomes the crucible in which your true calling is forged. It is through enduring the sting of betrayal that you find the strength to rise higher and become the person you were always meant to be. God has a way of transforming even the most painful experiences into stepping stones for greater blessings. The first blessing that comes after betrayal is the gift of clarity. When you are surrounded by people who claim to have your best interests at heart, but whose actions speak otherwise, it can cloud your vision. Betrayal clears away the fog, allowing you to see things more clearly than before. It's as if you've been walking through a dense forest, unsure of which direction to go, and suddenly the trees part, revealing a path that was always there but hidden from your view. In that moment, you realize that your journey isn't about gaining approval or seeking validation from others. It is about staying true to yourself and your divine purpose. The clarity you gain from betrayal is like the moment the sun breaks through the clouds after a storm, offering you a fresh perspective and renewed determination to move forward. Moreover, betrayal teaches you the importance of boundaries and self-reliance. In the face of betrayal, you learn that relying solely on others for your emotional or spiritual well-being can leave you vulnerable. It's like a plant that grows too close to the shade of a tree, depending on its branches for shelter. When that tree is uprooted or no longer provides cover, the plant struggles to survive. Betrayal forces you to develop a stronger sense of independence, both emotionally and spiritually. You begin to understand that your relationship with God must be the foundation of your strength, and that no matter how much you love those around you, your ultimate reliance must be on divine guidance. This new sense of self-reliance is a blessing in itself, allowing you to step forward with confidence and trust in your own abilities. Betrayal also creates space for true spiritual allies to enter your life. God has a way of removing the false supporters who have surrounded you, and in their place, He sends genuine individuals who align with your divine calling. These true allies are like the steady hands that help a sculptor mold a piece of clay, guiding and shaping you without asking for anything in return. They don't see you as a project to be fixed, but as a person to be uplifted. These are the people who support you not because it benefits them, but because they recognize the divine light within you. They see your potential and encourage you to walk in your purpose with unwavering faith. The beauty of these new relationships is that they don't come with strings attached. They are not influenced by fear or insecurity, but instead, they are built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of your spiritual journey. The blessing of true allies goes beyond mere friendship. These people come into your life not just to provide comfort, but to help you grow spiritually. They challenge you in ways that push you to become the best version of yourself, and they stand with you when others may falter. It's like being a warrior who has fought many battles alone, and then after the fight, finding comrades who share the same mission and will help you win the war. These spiritual allies are part of the divine orchestration that God has planned for your life, sent to guide you through the next phase of your journey. Additionally, betrayal opens the door to a deeper relationship with God. When your trust in others is broken, you find that your trust in God must grow. You come to understand that God is your true provider, protector, and guide, and no human relationship, no matter how close, can take His place. This deepened connection with God is a blessing that transforms your entire life. You begin to hear His voice more clearly, to understand His will for you more deeply, and to feel His presence more tangibly. The betrayal that once caused you pain becomes the very thing that draws you closer to the Creator, as you seek His guidance and strength in times of uncertainty. Another powerful blessing that comes after betrayal is the ability to forgive. It's not always easy, but forgiveness is one of the most liberating acts you can perform, both for yourself and for those who have hurt you. Through forgiveness, you release the grip of resentment and anger, freeing your heart from the chains of bitterness. Forgiving those who betrayed you doesn't mean that you excuse their actions or allow them back into your life in the same capacity, but it means that you no longer allow their betrayal to hold power over you. It's like releasing a bird from a cage. Once it is free, it can soar high, unburdened by the weight of its past. In forgiving, you make space for the blessings of peace and joy to enter your heart. Finally, the ultimate blessing that comes after betrayal is the fulfillment of your divine purpose. God uses the challenges, the pain, and the hardships you face to mold you into the person who is capable of stepping into your calling. Betrayal is not the end of the road. It is part of the process that prepares you for the greatness that lies ahead. Just as a diamond must undergo immense pressure to form, your character is being shaped and refined through the heat of betrayal. When you emerge from this trial, you will be stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true purpose than ever before. The rewards of staying true to your divine path, despite the opposition you face, are far greater than any temporary comfort or approval you could have received. The blessings that follow are not just external, but internal, transforming you into a more powerful and purposeful individual.